Hi, I'm March from StrataGames, and today I have a League video for you that I played on stream earlier today, or actually a couple days ago based on when this video is uploaded, but I'm playing this Dimir Faeries deck. This is the second league in the stream, so if I make any references to the first league, that is also a video that's up on the channel already, so go ahead and check that out. But we're basically just playing a Dimir Faeries deck, trying to control our opponents with Spell Stutter Sprites, counter spells, pick those back up with Ninja of the Deep Hours. We also have Monarch with Thorn of the Black Rose, Garmag Angler, Murmuring Mystic for our win cons, Lorien Revealed, some Preordains and Brainstorms to find the perfect cards, some other counter spells, Augur Bolas, etc. And this is what our sideboard looks like as well. You're going to see Stream Me from the past. I think we're going to take it for another league. I certainly could swap out some sideboard cards or something before we go on. 8 Hydros, Pyros, too much for the format. I mean, 4 is enough. No, for each color. I mean, that's just what we have in the format. Unless you're talking about like banning one of them, which I don't think is ever going to happen. It's a lot for sure, but to be fair, blue and red are two of the best colors in the format, so the fact that they have some silver bullets against them is quite a lot. And most decks don't play 8 in the sideboard. Some of them do. Occasionally you really just hate on blue if you're a red deck or whatever. But to be fair, a lot of decks do play more than 4. They'll play 5 or 6. Just feel inclined to play more non-blue red because of that. That's totally fine, but like I said, blue and red are just very, very good colors. So if there were 8 of a card that like blew up a white creature or countered a white spell, I would definitely say that's too much because white's already not a very good color in the format. But blue and red are too powerful that people are going to play them no matter how many. Like, I could have 15 Hydroblasts in my sideboard, and people would still be playing red decks because they're just very strong. All right, well, yeah, maybe we can try out Mukotai Ambusher. It's a little bit of life gain. I think I saw someone even playing one main deck. I don't know if that's crazy, but we could try that. Swapping out maybe one of our Arms of Adars. Negate is not a bad alternative for a Blue Blast substitute. True. A little more expensive, but also does a lot of the same stuff. Rat Ninja Lives, yeah. You're right about that. I think this is definitely the deck for it, where you're already doing ninjutsu stuff. The life gain can be pretty good. I mean, I was mentioning this at the beginning of the stream, but pretty sure the list Barf's been running, or at least the last one that I saw, didn't play any Brainstorms at all. It played it played all 4 Preordains, I think 4 Augurs, although Augur without Brainstorm seems crazy. So I thought about trying it, but I think that's just too radical for me. Blue has tons of 1-mana options like Spell Pierce, Dispel. Yeah, that's true. Just to main a more generic counter in your deck, just so your sideboard doesn't feel useless, unless you're playing against Affinity or Red. Well, maybe not the Ambusher in the main deck. I can't really, I don't know. This is just like, everything feels so clean to me, like all these numbers. This is basically what I play in paper. I think maybe I have 2 Spell Pierces instead of the Dispel, but Dispel definitely saved us in that one match, so it was nice to have. So yeah, we'll swap out that one Ambusher, but I think we'll just take this for another league. Hop back in. 2 Pierce is so good. Pierce is good. I like Dispel too. It's the big thing is just when you get 2 Pierces at the same time and they're both kind of useless, like when they get priced out of the game being very good, then you just much prefer Dispel. So I just kind of like having one of each. Agony Warp in the main might be good. Yeah, I loved Agony Warp back when Guardian of the Guild Pact was played a lot before Modern Horizons 3. It was definitely a staple to have an Agony Warp in the main deck. It's still, like, that was the main reason to play it. Now it's still, Agony Warp is good against Red Rally, it's good against White Weenie, any deck where there's a lot of attackers. But it just doesn't feel as necessary, and then when it is just worse than a cast down, you really feel it, I think. Alright, let's give this one a try for sure. Ooh, Aquifer. Could be against the Mirror. We're going to Preordain. If they are Dimir Faeries, Fumes would be good. Or at least decent. And Lorien might be decent. Sure, we'll keep both of these. And then when it's Dimir Terror, Fumes is going to be bad, but Fairy Seer, there it is. Alright, well, let's see how we do against the Mirror. They have a Preordain. I kind of want a Spell Stutter for this Ninja anyway, so I'm just going to go for it. They could certainly have a Cast Down, Snuff Out, Counterspell, Spell Stutter Spray. They have about 16 options that is good for them here, but I get to Suffocating Fumes these 2 away, so that's not terrible for us. They get a 2-for-1, but then we get a 2-for-1, so it kind of sets things back. Yeah. We don't have a lot else going on, so this is definitely worth it. Also, is space just too tight for Sneaky Snacker to be in this deck, or does it not slot well into the deck? It doesn't, yeah, a little bit of both. It doesn't slot well into this version of Dimir Faeries. That's the more traditional version is what I call it. Because the general rule with Sneaky Snacker that I've found is if you have to hardcast it, it's not really worth it. You want to be able to discard it. Now, if you're playing Dimir colors and you can't find a way to discard it and you cast it, that's fine. But you want to be able to discard it. So the Dimir control deck that plays a lot of the same cards as this one, but it plays Modern Age, and it plays maybe some Focus the Mind, or I'm trying to think of the other ones, Dahada's Ploy maybe, like where it plays six cards or so, 6 to 8 cards that can discard a card. That makes it a lot more worth it. But yeah, and we do have ways to draw cards, obviously. Lorien, Brainstorm both get us 3. Adding up ninjas and cantrips and Monarch can get us there too. But yeah, in general, people don't consider it worthwhile. So yeah, that's why you don't really see it. These are both pretty good. I'm gonna Fairy Seer here. If they spell stutter it, I'll be annoyed. I could be representing Cast Down, but a double Brainstorm. Probably don't need the second one since I'll probably be shuffling after anyway, and then I'll pass. Where can I find your latest Esper list? My latest Esper list, they snuff it out, would probably just be my most recent Esper Affinity video, which is probably like a week ago. So that would be there. But since you asked, what are they doing? Thorn? That's bad. Since you asked, I have finalized my Esper Affinity stock list. I am going to be playing it, recording a video for it, and putting it up on the channel probably next week. And I have been writing a guide for Esper Affinity as well, just like I did with Black Sack. And so when that video comes out next week, I'm also going to be releasing the guide. So all of that stock stuff with the Esper Affinity list will be up, I think next Tuesday is when I'm planning it. But yeah, but in the meantime, you can find the list, my most recent list, wherever my most recent video is on Esper. All right, they have the Monarch, which is not great. Oh, and they have a Ninja, which is also not great. Unless we have a Snuff Out, Brainstorm. They aren't even in blockers, so maybe they're looking for a Ninja. You got to go to blockers first. All right, there's a Ninja the Deep Hours. Wish we had a Snuff Out for it, but we do not. They hold up Counterspell or Spell Stutter or something. Cast Down. Let's Brainstorm. This is a lot of tap lands. I just want an untapped land. Put these 2 back. We can shuffle. Might end up doing that in our upkeep because I probably want to cast this down. Although if they have a counterspell, I can't do much about that. Yeah. Well, I'm going to cast it down anyway. Then we have Bojuka Bog to stave off their Gurmag Angler. They replay the Thorn of the Black Rose. I mean, that's not a big deal. That's probably just so that they can get, they can have an attacker for it in case I do steal the Monarch. I'm going to flash in the Spell Stutter. They could counter or just kill it. They do have the Snuff Out. We're going to Preordain. Don't really like either of those. And, well, I guess I'm going to Lorien because I have the mana, and then Gurmag. And if they counter this, I can still Gurmag. But, yep, don't have a lot else going on. This Monarch is killing us. Cast Down, swing for 1. Have another Ninja, Moon Circuit Hacker, Fairy Seer. We don't need another Ninja. I mean, I'm pretty much just gonna... I mean, if this Fairy dies or anything, I'm gonna probably concede. But if I can get the Ninja to go off and draw a card and scry again, maybe we can get there. Also, if we steal the Monarch. They do whiff on the Augur, so that's nice. We'll take 2. Discard a Lorien. Have a Suffocating Fumes. Yep. And we draw anything? No. Alright. Tough Shinobi's decent. That's basically it. Fumes is decent because it hits all the fairies and it's instant speed, but Arms is too slow. Snuff Out's good. Like, most of our main deck's decent anyway. We just drew worse than they did. And none of the rest of this is great. Do you think your Esper list is good against blue-black? I think it is because of the birds. I agree. I think, I was mentioning this earlier, but I think that Esper list crushes mono blue fairies really easily. It's a little tougher against Dimir, but I think it's still very favored because of all the flyers and removal. You have a very easy time clearing the fairies and just making it so the fairies can't attack. And you have so many cards that are really good that you can like bait with just about everything. So you know, you cast a Refurb for 1 mana, and then that's good enough they want to counter it, but then you get your Cryogen through or something like that. So yeah, I think it's pretty decent against Dimir. I would say it's definitely favored. Get a Fairy Seer. Obviously, we're looking for lands here. Lorien Revealed is a land. Unfortunately, it's not a land that lets us Ninja this turn. For that reason, I probably just won't attack. Preordain, double Island. Yeah, I mean, we just want to hit our land drops. I will block. Augur could get counterspelled, but it can't get spell stuttered. Brainstorm, sure. Augur gets a counterspell, pretty good. If next turn I can Ninja and hold up counterspell, that seems very strong for us. Although they have the Snuff Out now. Well, potentially have a Snuff Out. Thorn would be nice to play, but obviously we have no black mana. I chose to play the Preordain last turn instead of getting a Dimir land. We hit with the Ninja. Nice. Yeah, I think we'll just hold up Counterspell. This way they can't Thorn or something, because if they had Thorn plus a Snuff Out, it'd be kind of bad. If a Spell Stutter, I guess if I counter this, then they could have the Thorn and Snuff Out, but I feel like if they had a Snuff Out, they would have used it there, unless this is their plan. I don't have the black mana to kill this, so I think I'd rather they don't get a ninja down, and we'll see if I regret that. Cast down, that's fine. And they don't hit a land drop, very nice for us. We hit a land, play Augur, Brainstorm, or Cast down. Maybe just Cast down if I'm gonna do Thorn of the Black Rose pretty soon. So we'll do that. Obviously only one black mana, but I cycle a Lorien for another Aquifer, pass, Dispel. Alright, I'm not gonna Thorn because if they just have a Spell Stutter, I can't do anything about it. But I can Mystic. If they have a counter spell, I can Dispel. Then if they have a removal spell, I can't do much about that, but they Spell Stutter Sprite, sure. Alright, they're gonna get their Ninja, since I can't Dispel it. Moon Circuit Hacker. Spell Stutter in hand. Untapping with the Mystic's pretty good. I can attack with the Augur. If they try to kill the Mystic to make it so that they can get in, then I'm going to be casting spells anyway to make birds, so I'll have blockers regardless. If they go for a Spell Stutter here to try to get like another ninja through, I'll probably just cast it down. Alright, and we win that one. And let's just resubmit. Ooh, one land with a Fairy Seer. I did this last time, but it was with a Preordain as well. Just a Fairy Seer is kind of rough. You have 2 4-drops. I think this one's too risky. This one's better. Get rid of... Dispel's so good in this match. Preordain's pretty good to set up. I guess it's just the Augur. Although Augur's pretty good too because it blocks ninjas. And obviously probably draws his card. ID. Play an Aquifer. This is another match where we're going to not be able to hold up Spell Stutter on turn 2 because of the Lorien, probably. Although I guess it's not probably super relevant against them. Okay, we draw an island anyway. Never mind. We'll just hold up Counterspell then. They have a landscape. We will cycle a Lorien. Fairy Seer. I think that's fine. It helps our Spell Stutter. If they Spell Stutter here, I could counterspell it. So that's decent for us. Swamp is good. We want to hit those land drops. And Fairy Seer is probably not needed. Well, actually, I guess it's not bad. Fairy Seer buffs up our Spell Stutters. We have a lot of counterspells, so if we can just kind of go for a beatdown plan, that could be pretty decent. 2 mana for Cast Down. If I Spell Stutter this, they counterspell. It's 2 1-for-1s. Or they could Snuff Out. We get another Fairy Seer off the top here. I think it's fine. Play a Swamp and pass. I guess I could have Dispelled it since obviously it's a instant. Maybe they were holding out Snuff Out for Stutter. Yep, that was definitely one of my thoughts. We're going to Fairy Seer to block here. We have Spell Stutter and Dispel up. Also Snuff Out and Ninja. Those are both really good. We're keeping them, I think. I can't get either. Well, I could get one right now if I wanted to Preordain. I think it's fine, though. I'd rather hold up Spell Stutter and Dispel. There's a Snuff Out. We'll Dispel it. I guess this taps us out of Counterspell. So if we Spell Stutter this, they Counterspell back. They get in with their Ninja. And we don't get to play our ninja, but if I Spell Stutter at the end step anyway, they'll have a counterspell regardless, so yeah, I think we just go for this. If I had double blue still, I probably would just counterspell, but we do not. They do have another counterspell. Alright, not the best. Not the best for us, not the worst either. They do get to loot, though. We know we have a Snuff Out on top, so I could Preordain for the Snuff Out, but then if I want to Spell Stutter to get a Ninja, I'm shields down, whereas if I just Spell Stutter at the end step, I have a Counterspell for the Ninja. So I mean, they're looting, they're not drawing cards, so like they're not going up in advantage, they're just going up in selection, so I think it's fine. Unless they have another Ninja, alright. 2 hackers then, fair enough. Flash in a Spell Stutter. We get our Snuff Out. Swing, our ninja comes down, and they have the Cast Down. I'm gonna counterspell. Is this the second Dimir Faeries? No, this is still the first one we've been going up against. They didn't have anything there, so I think we just Snuff Out this ninja while they clearly don't have a spell Pierce or Dispel or anything. We know they have a Moon Circuit in hand. Well, now they have it on the field as a blocker. Let's Augur. Maybe I should have just Preordained and set up the Augur. Oh, they counterspell. They know we have a Spell Stutter, so we're not really holding anything back by keeping it up. I think we're just going to Preordain Island. If I can find another Snuff Out, I can get in with this Ninja. So sure, we'll dig a bunch here. Another Ninja is decent. Fumes is all this is okay, but not really what we need. I think we'll get rid of a Ninja and the Aquifer, and then Fumes can take this out next turn so I can get my Ninja in. Well, not if they find the Snuff Out. That's what I was looking for. They get to loot, discard a Fumes. We have a Lorien revealed. Yikes. We have a Lorien revealed. Their hacker keeps hitting us, but I don't think playing a Fumes and holding up a Sprite for 1 is very good here. Now, double Sprite with an Okiba could be pretty decent. They play a Gurmag Angler. That's rough. Ugh. Cast down would be pretty good. Now we have to spell setter to block this, or just fumes. Yeah, I don't think we ever have time to play that Lorien, so we're gonna just cast a fumes to kill the hacker ideally, and get him with a spell stutter. I guess we'll try to spell stutter this. Maybe I should just not worry about it and do this at the end step, but feels like if we can get some value, it's not bad. So now I could trade this here or chump here and then flash in another spell stutter at the end step, but I think our best chance of winning is to just fumes here. Kill this, try to take 4. They have the counter spell. I could just take 7. I think that's the goal. Not the goal, but the best plan here. Discard an island. Murmuring Mystic with no spells in hand. Well, that's not great. If I shinobi them, then I just die to what's on the board, so I can't do that. So here's a Murmuring Mystic, and we're gonna pass. They're gonna try to spell stutter. I'm gonna counter that. Try not to die. They have another Lorien. Pretty good. If they can find a cast down and a snuff out, they can just kill us. Well, I'm gonna block here and here. I'm trying to think what they could have to kill this Mystic. An Agony Warp, I guess, but I'm gonna definitely take that trade. Augur a Bolas. Okay. I would love some cantrips to make birds into like some counter spells. That'd be pretty good. We need a draw spell for sure. Spell stutter, not great. Well, I can Okiba them. They go to 0 cards in hand. Hopefully they don't top deck anything, and then I can flash in a spell stutter sprite to chump here. I think that's our best bet. Unfortunately, we're 1 mana short of being able to cast both spell stutters, which would be obviously more secure. To be honest, I probably should just cast the spell stutter right now in case they have a counter, in case they draw a counter spell. So if they draw a counter spell, then I would die. This keeps me alive through that. Attack with both. I will chump here. They have a Fairy Seer. I wasn't going to be able to counter that either way because they would have done it post-combat as they did, so it's not a big deal. Scry 1 to the top. That's not a good sign. Counter spell's good, but I have to leave Okiba back now. And I guess I just spell stutter now again. I guess it doesn't matter now that I have the counter spell for whatever they play. Yeah, actually we'll wait here. How do they scry with the Fairy Seer? When I enter scry 2. How did they scry? Sorry, how did they scry? It was 1 top and 1 bottom. I was thinking you meant like what caused them to do that, and that's obviously not what you meant. I have 2 top or bottom. So this has to block the Fairy Seer, and I mean Mystic's obviously better, so I have to block here, and then I'll counter whatever they play, which I would like them to play something. All right, nice, because I would like to get a bird for this. This means we technically survive another turn. I mean, we could still win this if we get some like a Lorien or some cantrips into whatever. Brainstorm's a great start. It could be a dead end, but it's not. Another Brainstorm and a Snuff Out is great. That's pretty good too. Although I can't play this and then also Snuff Out. So we're gonna just put back the Augur, I think, because I'd rather just snuff this out. Only have to deal with 1 guy, and now I can start attacking. And the next turn I can Augur and probably, maybe not blind flip, but we'll try. If they get like a Suffocating Fumes off the top, it's bad, but they've already used the 1. I would bet they wouldn't have another. We will obviously chump block to survive, which means we don't have lethal on them. They have a Fairy Seer. I guess if we can Augur into a draw spell that finds us like a removal spell and a ninja, we could win, but that seems unlikely. Let's just Augur, hope to find something. Cast down or counter spell. So if I cast this down, that's pretty good, but do I need to? I could just attack for 3, block. I think counterspell is safer in case they get something else. And now I can attack. They're top decking, so whatever they get, I can counter. I think this should be good. They do block with a Fairy Seer, and then whatever they cast, I counter, and I have enough blockers, or enough attackers to get them. All right, we take the match. Pretty intense one against the Mirror, but able to take it down. Yeah, that felt good. Definitely getting a little worried there at the end when we had to start chump blocking consistently, but Murmuring Mystic is a hell of a card. All right, we have pretty decent hand. I think we're going to keep this one. First game of the league, intense. Yeah, definitely a tough one. Really skilled at piloting the grindy decks. I appreciate that. I play almost exclusively the grindy decks, as mid-range is my favorite, so I would hope that I have some skill doing it. Definitely not as skilled at aggro or control or anything else usually, but this is my realm for sure. Okay, I think we're just playing a landscape and getting a blue so I can have double blue up. I could also just cycle this Lorien, and then I could have done that and had double blue up, but I might want this for blue-black, so I think this is probably better. Oh boy, we're against Snow-Covered Island. Does this mean High Tide? Yes, it does. That's probably good for us, right? Usually I play... Okay, Giga Drowse makes things worse. Usually I play decks that are not very good against High Tide, but with all of our counter spells, it's gotta be decent, right? I guess that's what the Giga Drowse is for. Playing against another Pauper YouTuber. Yeah, I thought I recognized their name. Depto Terra, Cycle Alorian. Still don't know why High Tide players play both ice and non-ice, or snow and non-snow lands. It's because it's easier to... they're separated, so it's easier to target them with your splice onto Arcane, that Psychic Puppetry that untaps. It's easier if they are separated, and that is why. Actually, gosh, I don't really play against High Tide with these types of decks, like I said. So I know they're going to try to Giga Drowse our mana before they go off. I don't really know how to stop that. I could flash in a Spell Stutter here to try to Ninja, but if I Ninja next turn and they just go off, I don't even make them Giga Drowse first, so that seems bad. So I feel like I just hold up my mana. I managed this also for the Misdirect. If you see a Snow Island, your first thought maybe is it Scred. Yeah, I don't think they put too much thought into the Misdirect aspect. I think it's mostly so it's easier to tap them. Some people do also play like one snow land if they're playing, like, you know, say you're Mono Blue Terror and you decide to try to 17 lands instead of 16. You play one snow covered island so that you know, oh, if I draw this land, it's like if I had drawn, you know, it could have been another card, and then it's easier to tell if that extra land is benefiting you or hurting. So that's another reason. I mean, obviously we don't need this Fumes. I could flash in a Spell Stutter, but that doesn't do a lot either. Yeah, we have so many counter spells, but it feels like we're just going to lose because they're just going to Giga Drowse all our lands and then go off. I guess if they try to Giga Drowse 3 of our lands here, we can tap the other 2 to counter the one that's going to target one of them, and then I can still hold up a Spell Stutter. I think that's my best bet. Imagine if Gaia's Blessing was legal. High Tide who? Yeah, I mean, people would have to play Gaia's Blessing, a not very good card. Yeah, so they're trying to tap all 3 of these, and if they do and have the combo, we pretty much lose. So I think what we're supposed to do is tap these 2, flash in a Spell Stutter to counter this one, so that we're able to hold up this blue mana plus this swamp, so I can still Spell Stutter their first High Tide. Or I could let this resolve and then I could counterspell whatever, but it doesn't actually let us cast additional spells unless they cast 2 more High Tides. So I think we're just gonna Spell Stutter here. They High Tide in response. Also, Spell Stuttering here is better than counterspelling because they can't muddle the mixture on it. So we could definitely still lose, but we're doing what we can. Laboratory Maniac in Pauper when? Yeah, that one we might be waiting a little bit for. And now we get to do the waiting game. I did everything I could with these counterspells. I think countered 1 High Tide. I mean, I drew the swamp naturally. If I had 4 islands here, then I could have let the first High Tide resolve, and then I would have had 4 mana, because High Tide affects us too. So then we could have tapped both of these for 2 counter spells, and that would have probably been better, but I did not tutor the swamp. It just drew naturally, so it's just a little unlucky, I think. Honestly, does it even matter that you're going to have 2 sideboard slots dead 80% of the time if those 2 cards absolutely slaughter the most uninteractive deck in the format? Yeah, I mean, but how often are you running up against High Tide? Because for me, it's like once every 20 or 30, like 20, 25 matches. If I'm taking 2 of my 15 sideboard slots, that's a higher percentage than how often I'm actually going against High Tide. Now, I mean, if it was like a Gaia's Blessing, I'm pretty sure you could just use 1 sideboard slot, but like, I don't know. It might be worth it. You still have to wait through all this 15 minutes, but at least you win after that. But yeah, it really depends on how prevalent the deck is. So, I don't know, but are you all saying you don't like just waiting here while we're playing a game? It's very exciting, isn't it? See, they have Petals of Insight and another High Tide. So now islands are tapping for 3. They have 2 puppetries, which means with the Petals, they spend 7 mana and they get back 9. I'm pretty sure that's infinite. Fun, yeah. All right. Oop, I didn't even click on that. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, we're gonna concede this one. They definitely got us. Downshift the Unspeakable. Honestly, that would make the deck a little bit more interesting. We get Okiba Gang Shinobi, and Relics are maybe relevant. That's basically it. I guess anything's better than removal. So like a creature. I don't think Annul has any targets. So, yep. We don't really have much of a sideboard. If we hit the Okiba Gang, we'll probably just win. But out of curiosity, if the opponent pops off with High Tide and you shotgun Gilded Light before they Giga Drowse you, don't you just stifle their entire turn? Yes. Gilded Light can save you. Like, it can win the game if they haven't tapped you out, and like they can still do all their stuff, but they can't mill you out. And so once they've used up most of their high tides, or like, you know, a couple of their high tides and some of their draw spells, that's when you want to use it. But yeah, Gilded Light is a decent counter. But it's not perfect because it gets countered by Muddle the Mixture, which they do play. So that's a minor thing. I mean, that's the main reason, but it's also just you have to have the Gilded Light. So yeah, if you want to put 3 or 4 of those in your sideboard as a white deck, that's definitely a way to beat them. It's not terrible because like White Weenie does have a bad matchup against them. So I know a lot of people have talked about it and it just hasn't ended up being something people have really tried. This hand could be anything. It could even be interactive. This one's much better. We have that really annoying swamp again though. I guess I'm going to get rid of the Preordain. I guess the counterspells, I don't know. Counterspells didn't help us that much last time. It feels like it should be a good matchup for us because of the counterspells we have, but again, the Giga Draws just wrecks us, so I really don't know what to do here. But I guess you have to be lucky enough for the opponent to activate a few Ideas Unbound to make sure they can rebuild next turn, and hope they can't Giga Draws or Muddle Mixture. Can't rebuild. Yeah, for sure. If they've cast some Ideas Unbound, then yeah, their turn's going to be pretty much useless, and they're going to have to discard all their hand. If they don't do that, yeah, it really depends on how deep they've gone to if they can be... if it can be good enough to win you the game. But often they only have one shot with like all the high tides and stuff, so it's still like decent to try it, but I don't know. Peer Through Depths, and I think I'm just going to go for the Ninja here. If they have the win, if they already have high tide and they're going to win, then so be it. But I think getting this down is important enough, and I guess we'll leave this up because if they do high tide, we could counterspell something. Okay, Watsy, Leyline of Sanctity to common win. I think Gilded Light's probably the closest we're getting to Leyline of Sanctity. There's a Merchant Scroll. They find the Giga Drowse again. Attack for 2. We'll draw a card. There's an island. Oh, we'll hold up our interaction. They brainstorm. Is that worth spell stuttering? Probably not. We'll let it go. Not sure what they want to put back. Play an island, and they pass. Augur Bolas. We will draw another card here, and they Giga Drowse in our attack step. 3 of our lands. I can again spell stutter to counter one of these. I didn't expect them to do this. Now I wish I had played the swamp, so I could have used that. Well, I'm targeting these 2. I'm gonna spell stutter to counter the one targeting the Aquifer. Draw a card, ideally a counterspell. Relic of Progenitus. I will play that. Dark Supplicant and Scion of Darkness, both uncommons. Maybe they can burst some sort of Cleric Pile and Pauper. That would be cool. We don't really have anything else to do with this mana. I guess if I let this go off and then I can crack the Relic, and if I specifically find a Spell Pierce or a Dispel, it's worth it. But otherwise, it probably just makes sense to counter this one. But I feel like they're not going to go for this unless they can win through one counterspell. So, which means they probably have 2 high tides. So maybe I just let this go and then I go for a counter on another high tide or something. Now we'll crack this. Hope for a Dispel off the top. It's not. I think we just let that resolve and counter the first like untap or draw spell. Usually you should go for the first high tide, but apparently they have a million of them. They're gonna drain that mana, go to the second main phase. Fair enough. Technically, I could have 2 counterspells off this one Aquifer. If only we had 2 counterspells. Okay, Ideas Unbound with 1 Psychic Puppetry. If I counter this, they have 5 mana. I mean, I think we have to counter this. It might, you know, they might have another one. They might have a Peer Through Depths, something better to counter, but I think we got to go for this one. Disrupt, but I have extra mana to pay for it. Of course, they still get to just draw a card. I guess if they have 3 Disrupts, they'll get me good, but now we can F6. Hidden Strings, and a Psychic Puppetry, so their last card has to be a draw spell of some sort, or a Merchant Scroll. That's the same thing. Find a Peer Through Depths. They could whiff here. That's the hope. Find a Preordain. 2 to the bottom. All right, we won that game. Look at that. I mean, that was through some careful play, but still didn't have a lot that we could do. Actually, now that I think about it, most Soul Sisters and Blight Priests are clerics, so Dark Supplicant could give me a deck more explosive game plan. That is very true. This hand does not look very interactive. This one, that doesn't seem good either. And it says no lands, so okay, amazing. I guess we're keeping 2 lands, 2 counterspells, which once they get a Giga Drowse is probably just not going to work, fortunately, which they can get right now because I don't have a Spell Pierce. There's the Giga Drowse. Although they're missing their 3rd land too. Dispel's decent. I mean, I still think they're favored here, but they're not really going to be able to go off unless they can find at least a 3rd land. So that's something for us. They are still going to Giga Drowse us. I think we just let these resolve. I could Dispel one, but then I don't even have anything to hold up with the other one. I mean, I guess I could hold up Counterspell once they've high tide, but whatever. They do top deck an island, but they just pass. We're drawing poorly, though. They preordain 2 to the top. I mean, they've already used their Giga Drows. I feel like if I top deck an island, maybe we have a shot with 3 spells to interact with. So we'll let the first High Tide resolve, because that allows us to have the mana for the rest. Ooh, okay. I'm not going to hard cast a ninja here and fully tap out. Cool as that would be. They're going to peer through depths. That's fine. They find a Lorien, which is another land. Another ninja. Well, they're getting pretty lucky drawing their lands, and we are not. So that's pretty annoying. If we could just find a Spell Stutter Sprite, or even a Fairy Seer, or maybe even an Augur, and then we find a swamp so I can like Okiba gang them, I think we could just win like that. Okay, Aquifer's a decent start to that. They discarded Disrupt. Peer through depths for a puppetry. I mean, they're just going to probably wait as long as they can at this point. I could Ninja and just hold up 1 Dispel. Don't think that seems very good. They do have another Giga Drowse, maybe. Really hoping that was their only copy. Yeah. Okay, so they obviously have 1 targeting each of them, and then they have 2 extras. So I think I'm going to Counterspell to keep 1 of these untapped, and then if they double High Tide, I can Counterspell and Dispel on their other stuff. So I think that's what we're going to do. So that's 1 on each, and then an extra 1 on each of these 2. So I want to counter this last one using this mana. I could counter another, but that just does not seem very good. So we're going to do that. And now we still have some stuff to interact at the very least. I didn't know they played 2 Giga Drowses. Oh god, stop doing it. Yeah, Brainstorm's fine. Hidden Strings. Yep, that's pretty annoying. Alright, now we're tapped out, and we'll see if they can win. 2 High Tides. Dia's Unbound. Maybe if they forget that mana, does away in between phases and won't combo off. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. They specifically passed through phases to make sure it disappeared, so I don't think they're gonna forget that. Alright, they have got us. I don't really want to wait around longer for that. I think I have time for 1 more match. Let's do that before. Let's try to end on a more interesting match instead of that. And it looks like we're against Kalikai's, another Pauper YouTuber. This hand is not very good. This one has 2 lands, some interaction. He's likely to be on some sort of combo or storm or something. Yeah, only getting bombs versus Adepto, Terra, and then Saidenraken. Yep, you're exactly right. I mean, if he is like some sort of combo or storm, like it's nice to have a Thorn for that, but I think the other interaction is probably just better, so I think we're gonna get rid of this. Looks like familiars. So we'll just play an island. I'll hold up a Spell Pierce, but probably not going to use it. Oh, great. He's also on High Tide. I was hoping to have a more interesting match this time, but apparently I'm not allowed. I will play an Augur. Take this Lorien revealed. God knows what kind of confusing Giga Jank Storm deck Kalikai's is going at. Yep, I agree. What crazy Storm deck is he going to be playing? Oh, look. Oh, look. How interesting. He also got a Giga Drowse. I could just hold up a Counterspell. What are the chances they're going to go off this turn if I tap out? He's only got 5 cards that are relevant, Giga Drowse not being one of them. Tell him to get his combo garbage out of here, and that mid-range is where it's at. Yeah, somehow I don't think I'm going to convince him that mid-range is where it's at. I'm gonna Brainstorm, get rid of a couple of these, cycle. Probably should have kept an extra one of those lands and got rid of another Lorien. I mean, we're going to tap out here, but what difference does it really make, you know? Bet you wished you had Guy's Blessing on your side. Shut up! But yes, I do. Oh, Ideas Unbound just to find a land or something is not the worst thing for us. But yes, I certainly wish that I usually don't go up against High Tide this often, but I guess twice in a row it was destined to be. Gonna discard Hidden Strings, Peer Through Depths. I mean, we have Spell Stutter and Counterspell. Of course, the Giga Drowse is not really gonna matter. Or not, is going to make it so that doesn't really matter. Cycle, oops, I don't know why I tapped that. I meant to tap this and then cycle the landscape as well for an island, so I would just have 5 islands. And I did not do that, because that way he wouldn't have been able to tap all of them. We need to hack Scryfall and Gatherer and MTGO and turn Gaia's Blessing into a common. Yeah. Get right on that. That's the solution. He didn't Giga Drowse there, which means he's not ready to go off yet. Pieces of the puzzle. I almost feel like I just want to counter this, because if he does try to Giga Drowse me on the turn to go off, then I might just die there. So let's do that. Do I need black mana? The only black spell in my deck that matters is Gurmag or Thorn. I kind of think I'd rather just have an island. Fairy Seer is decent. Let's Spell Stutter, tap for, or counter even more, and just speeds up our clock. Bajuka Bog, I don't think it's going to be relevant. Counterspell obviously will be. Wait for MH4, Magus of the Blessing. Yeah, it's coming. Magus of the Coffers at common. These are some interesting suggestions. Counterspell on top, so we're going to keep that. Yeah, we're going to pass. gonna cycle Lorien for just another island. He's missing a land drop, so I'm just gonna make it as hard for him to actually Giga Drowse this as possible, with as many untapped islands as possible. Because he could tap 4 of them down, but that once a High Tide goes off, that still lets me cast 2 of these. Also Dispel helps. High Tide here, and then Giga Drowse. That's kind of big brain. So High Tide here lets him Giga Drowse 4 of these, or all 6 of these. So if I Dispel this, then he can still only Giga Drowse 3 of them. So I think that's worth it. Worth it. Was not expecting that. Another Spell Stutter's pretty good. We're going to pass. And he's pretty much got to go for it because I could... Oh, Peer Through Depths. I'm going to let that go. It's a Lorien. Cycle for an island. Yup, play that. And I'm going to flash in a Spell Stutter because that gives us lethal. Now, he's going to Giga Drowse to tap our creatures so that we don't actually have lethal, but there's another High Tide. That's going to allow him to tap down 8 things, which is going to be all of our lands and 2 of our creatures. Whereas if I Spell Stutter this, then he just Giga Drowses our 4 creature, well, a couple of our lands and a couple of our creatures. I'm going to Spell Stutter, I think. I mean, he's used up 2 High Tides just to try to get the Giga Drowse off, so... That's not terrible. So he could Giga Drowse 3 lands and 1 of these, but that still dies to a Ninja. Well, no. I'd have to have a 1-mana Ninja. Yeah, so he is going to do that, because I'd have to do it right now, which I'm not going to be able to, obviously. So this one's staying untapped. I might as well Brainstorm, Counterspell. Now I could Counterspell... Oh, I could just Counterspell the one that is only tapping the Sprite, and that'll be lethal on them. There we go. Oh. And we won the game. Nice. We get to bring in our 2 creatures and relics that are not super relevant for cast downs and snuff out, and that's it. On a serious note, the Megases were such a creative way to bring broken effects into standard without it being overbearing. Yeah, Megases are really cool. Just about any effect you staple onto a creature is usually worse because creatures are a lot easier to kill, so it is a cool way to make them less powerful, but still really cool. Alright, this hand has some decent interaction. Starts with a Preordain. Aquifer. There's a Merchant Scroll. Gets a Puppetry this time, which means they already have Giga Drowse, I would assume. Gonna go for an Augur with Pieces of the Puzzle. Finds their choice of a bunch of stuff. Peer and Puppetry. More counterspells is decent. Could definitely use some Fairy Seers to make this a little more aggressive. Could just have a Giga Drowse right now. Tap all of our lands. I'll Spell Stutter to keep one untapped. Brainstorm. I'm not going to counter that. Plays an island. I'm going to Brainstorm and cycle a Lorien here. We'll get rid of these lands. And... I feel like I just have to pass with everything up. Peer Through Depths. Not splicing anything to like tap our lands or anything is kind of interesting. Well, finds a Giga Drowse. Doesn't use it yet, which makes sense because he couldn't tap all our lands anyway. We'll untap. Discards a Dispel. We have more lands than he does, which is good. That helps. Unfortunately, we're just not attacking anywhere near as quickly this time. If we found Okiba Gang Shinobi, I think things would be a lot better. There's the Giga Drowse. 5 different lands. All but this one. So I'm going to tap 2 of these to Spell Stutter this one. And then we have 2 lands left for 2 counterspells after a High Tide. You're doing another league after you finish this one. I'm definitely not. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to finish this one, to be honest. I think we'll see another Giga Drowse. That's pretty annoying. But no, this is definitely going to be the last league, if more. I feel like this is Desperation. Oh, but if I counterspell one of these, then I'm tapped out regardless. So it doesn't really matter, does it? I guess I'll just tap him. All right, let's see if he's got it. High Tide, High Tide. Cast a Puppetry. Merchant Scroll for a Peer. And we win the match. All right. Well, we won one against High Tide. I think we'll see if we can finish this league out. But this is already the second league, so I'm definitely not going to be able to do another one. But ideally, we can finish up the league in not too long. I guess you can play the rest of the league off screen and stitch that with the matches you played in the stream if you want more content. Yeah, usually I usually am streaming for 4 to 5 hours. I usually go like 1-ish to 5 here. It's 5 now, but I'm going to go a little longer. And then I usually just leave the last couple matches on the end of the other league, but I'm probably going to start breaking them up. And yeah, so I'm going to try to finish this one so that I can turn this into 2 different league videos, I suppose. So that if people want to know how to play or how to lose against High Tide, this is going to be the video for them, you know. It's important stuff. Gosh, it's done. All right. This hand is decent. Let's hope we're not against High Tide, you know. Opponent plays island. Yeah, well, there's a snow-covered island even. Good sign. Well, I would like to Fairy Seer for this ninja. Cast Preordain. You know what? You're gonna make it happen, and I don't appreciate that. I am gonna get rid of Snuff Out and Lorien. I don't really want either of these anyway, but certainly not if they end up being tied. I'll just play this and pass. No, here's the Brainstorm. Oh no, the Cycle the Lorien into the Merchant Scroll. And there's a regular island, so that means it's not Scred. Oh my gosh, that means it is High Tide again. What's happened? Grabbing High Tide? No. Come on, have you been paying any attention, Nagito? They'd be grabbing Giga Drowse. But we're going to just Ninja here and replay the Fairy Seer. If they got us in turn 3, then we're dead. But we need to, as seen, have the pressure to make sure they can't go forever. There's the Peer Through Depths. What did I do? Spell Pierce is okay. It's not very good, but it's not nothing. What did I do to deserve this? Is it High Tide Day? Nobody told me. All right. We get to draw a card. See, this is why you're supposed to stop after one league. We got a beautiful trophy in our first league, and then I kept playing, and for some reason that deserved punishment. And so here we are. Piece of the puzzle. I will definitely Spell Pierce that. Brainstorm, put back, cast down, Bajuka Bog. We have 1,000,000 lands now, but we don't need removal or bog for the islands. The moment you had Badmouth anti-High Tide sideboard tech, you ran into 3 High Tide players in a row. Yeah, I guess that's what I did. You know what? Let's do it. Let's downshift Gaia's Blessing. I've converted. And that whiffs, and we'll pass. Feel your pain. Mirror and 3 Tide in a row. That must be sad. Yeah, the mirror too. Kind of rough. Deep analysis. Sure. Yeah, not my favorite thing, I will admit. Cycle the Fumes. More islands. Game thought you need to be taken down a few pegs after that clean 5-0. Yeah, you get one trophy like every week or two, and suddenly you have to endure this. Heaven forbid. Snuff out, nice. Draw a card. Do I just cast a Lorien Revealed? I tap out a Spell Stutter until after the first High Tide, but if they have a second High Tide, I feel like I usually don't even want to go for the High Tide. I guess if they only have one, though, I'd like to counter it. Ugh, third thing. I guess if they have a Giga Drowse to tap this, then it's bad. All right, let's just pass. Told me you were alive, so I finally came to Twitch after seeing you only on YouTube. Hey, thanks for popping in. Glad you're able to make it for the 3rd High Tide opponent in a row. With Esper, must be impossible to beat High Tide, right? It's not great, but it's not impossible. The key is your discard package. So Raven's Crime can just single-handedly win the game. If you make him discard 2 or 3 cards, it's pretty good. If you find a single Refurbished Familiar, you want to spend all of your efforts replaying that Familiar rather than drawing cards to make them discard cards. If you can just make them discard 1 card every single turn, it's kind of hard for them to win. And then sideboard Duresses help a lot too. Also, I've started playing a couple Metallic Rebukes, which help too. So it's not as hard as you would think. It's still not amazing, but it's not impossible. I mean, we have them dead next turn, so they have to go for it, which means... But I only have 1 Spell Stutter to interact. I just put back 2 cards, so I think I cycle this Lorien and try to Augur to try to find another counterspell. That's the goal. It's going to be 3 High Tide games and 2 mirror matches. Going to cap it off with another mirror match, exactly. Preordain. We still only have 1 Spell Stutter. I guess if they Giga Drowse us here, we're kind of screwed, but that was the case at the moment I started casting spells. I would just like to find another counterspell, ideally, and we did not. We will pass. Heard you're having some fun matches against High Tide. Yes, certainly we are. Dragonzo would defeat High Tide. This is hubris. Hator Felix, I really appreciate the subscription with Prime. Thank you very much for that. With that subscription, you can view me lose to High Tide 400 times. There's nothing I can do against this, so we'll just pass. Did you have a schedule for lives? I don't currently have a schedule for streaming. That is something I'd like to work on, but I'm very bad with schedules, so it's hard to keep to it. And I have sometimes I have different things happening on different days, but currently you can generally catch me live at some point 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on various days. I try to do it throughout the week, throughout the weekdays, but I was going to be live on Saturday, and then I had didn't feel too well. But generally Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays is what I'm trying to do a couple of those days, but I can't commit to anything at the moment, but trying to be a little more consistent. Max Figurado, thank you very much for the subscription as well. This is too funny of a league not to upload it. Oh, it's gonna get uploaded. It's hilarious. We're all gonna laugh at my pain. Both of you now have little hedrons next to your name, which is kind of cool. Did you know you've got a lot of fans in Brazil? I have heard a couple people from Brazil who have hopped in the chat before. So I know there's a couple, but I don't specifically know how many people there are or anything, but I'm glad to hear that. I know Brazil's a big country for Pauper, so I'm not super surprised, but always love to hear that. I haven't really been paying attention to this. I assume we're dead, but we'll let them go a little bit longer. Their lands are tapping for 4. They have 13 cards in hand and a Merchant Scroll. All right, we'll give it to them. Concede this time. If you're posting a notice that you're going live in the community tab, that should be good enough for people if you don't have a schedule. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing that exactly. Posting on YouTube in the community tab. I've been posting on my Blue Sky and my Twitter as well. So if you don't know exactly when I'm going to be live, just go ahead and follow one of those, or make sure that you're looking at the community tab, and you'll be able to catch me, ideally. But yeah, I'm eventually I'll probably try to work on a schedule. But for now, it's just whenever I'm feeling like it. But it's been 2 or 3 times a week pretty consistently. So yeah, just make sure you're following those places. And obviously here, and you'll get notifications. By now, I know the perfect sideboard plan that works 50% of the time based on our data. Just a heads up that you're going live. Yep. I try to keep everyone informed as best I can. But certainly if you're following here, you should be getting notifications and things like that. And we have Dispel, Spell Stutter, and we have a Ninja. I feel like the key to winning is, unfortunately, we need a lot of stuff. It's interaction and pressure. We need both of those pretty consistently, which means that the Ninjas are good and the interaction that we have is decent. We're going to pass here. If they go for like a Brainstorm or something end step, I'm just going to Spell Stutter it for a little bit of value. Since you're already playing against fun decks, what are the odds you play a little Flickertron? What are the odds I play against Flickertron? Pretty high. I mean, I did already play against Flickertron today. Another fun one I was able to partake in. Yeah, so we already played against some of that. If you're saying if I'm going to play Flickertron, that's simply not going to happen. They peer through depths. If they, as always, if they can go off on turn 3, then we're just going to die. But I don't think we can afford to hold up stuff from turn 3 because we need some of that pressure. Play an Aquifer and pass. Not many gameplays on YouTube after House will stop making videos. Yeah, there are definitely some decks that don't get enough love on YouTube, which I would love for there to be more. But unfortunately for those Tron lovers, I'm not a combo or Tron player. So I do a lot of mid-range, a good amount of control and aggro, but any combo or Storm or Tron or something you're gonna have to look elsewhere for. Choose Peer Through Depths and Preordain. I think you play it with Flickertron. Well, I tried, I met you. Yeah. No, I appreciate that you're interested, and I would love to do that for you, but I would not love to do that in general. I'm not very good at it, to be honest, so it wouldn't be the most entertaining in the first place. But I also just don't really enjoy those decks as much. All right, so we know they have a Preordain, Pure, and a High Tide. I think I'm going to play an Augur. Again, we need that pressure, and if they go for a High Tide, then I can still play both of these. That doesn't do anything, and then maybe I can Ninja next turn. You know how it is. You know what this feels like when you drop Graveyard Hate in Modern thinking you're never going to go up against Dredge and all your LGS is Dredge. Yeah, sounds about right. What about Mono White Heroic? I've played Mono White Heroic a couple times on the channel, one of which was just a couple of weeks ago. So that's definitely one you can find on the channel. I don't know if I'll be playing it that much in the future. It's not necessarily a favorite deck, but it is one that I like to pull out every so often. All right, they got a couple Preordains here. 2 to the bottom, then 2 to the top. Now a Merchant Scroll. So I guess they're going to shuffle one of those away. I can't Spell Stutter this, though, so not going to even try. There's the Giga Drowse. Looky there. So I guess this is the turn that I need to not tap out, except with the Seething Landscape. No, this turn is fine, because they're going to Giga Drowse me next turn. So let's go for a Ninja here to try to draw a bunch, and then we're gonna just pass and discard a Snuff Out. If I could make a request or just some food for thought, it's cool if you could play Red Goblins, not Red Rally, Mohawk Flunkies with Goblin Grenade, like in the old days of Pauper. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the suggestion. I'm always open to suggestions for decks. I cannot promise that I will play anything unless if you wanted to do a deck donation, in which case I could play any deck you wanted. I will say, if you really want to see me play Flickertron, if you do a deck donation on my Metafy, then you can force me to play any deck you would like. I can't promise I'll be very good at it, but if you want to see me suffer through a combo deck I know nothing about, or know very little about, you are able to make that happen for a little fee. All right, we're going to draw a couple cards here. We have not very much interaction. They're going to Giga Draws us for 5 here. My Tuxedo Cat has joined the stream to watch. Well, my cat just pulled up here and started screaming as well. Will you play a league with 60 islands if it is a deck donation? You're really testing me, but I mean, if you're giving me money, I'll play anything. I don't know how entertaining that'll be, but you're able to make me do that, I guess. So they're going to tap down 5 of my lands. I could Spell Stutter to keep 2 untapped, and then I have a Dispel and maybe a Brainstorm to find another spell, and that's it. But if I tap like something like to Preordain or Fairy Seer here, then I'm gonna just tap out more, so that doesn't seem very good. Cycle Storm it is. When I say you can make me play any deck, you can make me play whatever you want. At least on MTGO, your brain isn't completely gone after 3 matches. Yeah, not unless they're 3 high tide matches. It'll be like Momir Basics without the Momir. Yes. Yeah, that sounds very fun. All right, they're tapping down a bunch of stuff. So I'm gonna hold up 1 island. I guess I don't have to spell stutter here. If I want, I could just let. I'm still holding up 1 island. If they double high tide, then I still have spell stutter plus dispel. Oh, but spell stutter's only for 1, and all of the relevant spells are 2 mana except for high tide. Ugh. Well, I guess we might as well brainstorm here, right? Because we're losing these anyway. Another spell stutter sprite. That's something. Put these back. So I will flash in 1 spell stutter to keep one of these untapped. The second one here is the Aquifer. So let's do that and tap the rest of these. All right, there we go. Hidden Strings. Perfect. I guess I just counter the Hidden Strings and then likely lose. Even if you don't end up making red goblins, I appreciate just taking the suggestion into consideration. Yeah, no worries. Like if I'm looking for a quick, fast deck, maybe I will end up playing it. So I have to count stuff, especially the discarded cards as an improvement. Clicking is fine. All right, do we think this one's lost? Probably. 3 puppetries. Preordain. They only have 6 cards right now, 3 of which are puppetries. So I guess there's a possibility they could run out. Ideas Unbound helps a little bit. There's a Lorien, Brainstorm, Stream of Thought. All right, we're gonna just call it there. At this point, I'm just glad I haven't played against High Tide ever. Yes, consider yourself lucky. Here we are going to be probably queuing into the 4th High Tide match and seeing how that goes. And on the other hand, Max Figueiredo is considering buying the deck. Well, that sounds like you got to convince Max not to do that. If this riveting gameplay for the past like hour and a half hasn't convinced you not to play it, I don't know what does. Hear me out. 56 islands and 4 treasure hunt. Yeah, I mean, I would suggest you have an outlet for like a reason to chart a course and draw all those cards for it to be an actual deck that does something. We don't have Zombie Infestation in the format, otherwise that could be a suggestion. Just to feel the satisfaction of holding 40 cards in your hand. Bro, this is how easy it is to hold 40 cards in your hand. You don't have to build a terrible deck to do that. Well, if this hand is against High Tide, it's pretty bad. It's not amazing anyway, but it is kind of interesting having Thorn and just 2 cast downs. So I guess we'll give it a try. Opponent plays Island. You're really gonna try to do this again? How dare you? Okay, well, Elves is nice to have multiple cast downs for. You can do that just shuffling, mate. Yeah, exactly. You do not need to put 56 islands in a deck to be able to just hold 40 cards. Every Aquifer, that's great. I can cast this down. Do I really need to this turn? I could just Augur. The problem is if they then play like a Priest of Titania that I also want to cast down, things get a little worse. So I think we will just do it now. Like, I can't cast down 2 things next turn, so I think it's probably better that I just take the one away that I know I'm going to want to kill. There's a Winding Way. It's Birchlore, Sentinel, Well-Wisher. Counterspell. I don't care that much about these creatures. Heard you wanted some Aquifer. I did request that, I suppose. I think I'm just going to Augur here. So for a 3-2, you at least get your points back. I mean, that's the goal. I do think this matchup should be decent for us, but we also have a really slow start, so I'm not sure. But we have a good amount of removal for cheap with the Snuff Outs, Counter Spells. We even have some Fumes and Arms of Hadar in the sideboard. And so, yeah, always hoping to get them points back. There's a Birchlore. Then they top deck Lead or Winding Way. Yeah, I mean, obviously it would have been nice to have a Counter Spell there, but then again, they Winding Way and only find a Well-Wisher this time. So that I'm okay with. Snuff Out's good. Here we're just holding up everything. I don't care enough about these to cast any of them down or snuff them out. And now I will counterspell more more draw spells. I don't care enough about the Well-Wishers. They can gain 1,000,000 life. If this game goes crazy long, I'm gonna end up winning. Now if I do want to put a Thorn of the Black Rose down, maybe I do want to cast something down here. But honestly, it's probably just like a Birchlore Rangers. I really don't care about the Well-Wisher. That taps for more mana. Sure, we'll do this. I don't know if this is right. Usually I save removal for as long as possible. Oh, now we have a spell stutter. Well, I guess we're waiting an extra turn because I'd like to get some spell stutter value. I guess they only played 2 drops last turn, so maybe their goal will be to not play 1 drops, but there's a ranger, so we'll counter that. They can definitely gain 4 life off the Well-Wisher. That's totally fine. We're going to cast a Nyxborn Hydra for like 2 just to block the spell stutter sprite. That's fine. I don't need to block, or I don't need to attack for a ninja when I have a Thorn of the Black Rose about to come down. Untapped land would be nice. Ooh, okay, I guess we'll preordain first. Gurmag, Brainstorm. Don't need Gurmag. I guess we'll keep the Brainstorm. We're gonna tap out this one turn. If they have a big Hydra, then, I mean, they don't even have that much mana for a big Hydra, but I can snuff out. If they have a Winding Way or another Lead the Stampede, it could be a little rough, but here's hoping it's worth it in the end. Priest of Titania is totally fine because we can kill that before they can use it. Well-Wisher. Also, if we could just find our Suffocating Fumes in our deck, that should just win us the game. They got no attacks. Another Snuff Out's good. Let's Brainstorm. We do have a Ninja, so I could snuff out both of these Reachers and get a Ninja going, but I don't think that's super necessary. I think we just want to kill the Priest, because them making a ton of mana could still be pretty bad, even with our counterspells and stuff. So we'll snuff that out. Hold up counterspell. We have the Monarch. I think we're in a pretty good spot. Oh, and there's a Fumes. I guess I could have done that at the end step, but I'll probably just see if they want to play any more 1-drops. And if they want to lead the Stampede, I'll just count. They can Well-Wisher. Brainstorm. Let's cast that. Juka Bog. And another Ninja. Put back. Dimir is opponent's version of your High Tide Nightmares. Yeah, I mean, that's true, but at least we're doing something interesting, in my opinion. Interacting. So I could double Ninja here and still hold up Counterspell, although I want a Suffocating Fumes. I don't even need a Suffocating Fumes this turn, though, to be honest. Let's just put that back on top. I'm going to snuff out the Hydra. Then I can attack with these 3. No, because I put back the Suffocating Fumes, which I could get at the turn, but I'd want to... Yeah. We'll just attack with these 2. And Ninja here. And then we'll Augur again. Preordain. But yeah, next turn I can Suffocating Fumes. And if they block here, then I can wipe their whole board. And if they want to play it out, then, like, you know, it's going to take a little longer because of the life they've gained. But really, we'll have full control of the game. Looks like this might be another Hydra. Or like a Generous Scent or something. Yeah. Hydra, we're going to counter that. Spell Stutter Sprite. Let's attack with these guys. Pick up the Sprite. Another Thorn. Let's preordain. Snuff Out. We don't really need another Ninja. Snuff Out's good, though. We'll pass. Discard this Thorn. They play Aquarian, even though they know we have a Spell Stutter Sprite. But I guess maybe they're baiting for the next spell, which is a Masked Vandal, which I guess I'll counter. I really don't care about too much, but I guess it blocks the ninjas, although with Suffocating Fumes that would just die, so maybe I should let it go. Okay, they have another Vandal. That's totally fine. If they saw your hand, they would concede ASAP. Yeah, I think that's probably the case. I just need to cast this Fumes. I just really don't think it's been correct to do so, like based on everything else we've been doing. But at this point, I believe it is. We just attack with everything, except the Thorn, just in case they want to try to take the Monarch. Then when they go for their blocks, we'll Fumes, wipe their whole board, and that should make them concede, I think, because the 2 creatures that are left take perfect damage to die, and we'll just pass. They're 47, they don't concede, but I don't think it'll take us too long to finish the game off. Play a Winding Way. We're going to Spell Stutter that. All right, we do win the game. So our hand's already pretty well set up here, I think. We did end up taking out that second Arms of Hadar for this Ambusher that was completely useless, unfortunately. So Extract is not amazing, but like Spell Pierce is pretty useless. It Dispel's pretty useless. So maybe 1 Extract's better than that. I think probably. All right, we'll try this. This hand's not amazing. We can extract 1 guy. We have a Spell Stutter Sprite. We have a Counterspell, but we don't have the mana for it, unless I turn 1 Fairy Seer. I kind of think this is just barely not good enough. I mean, this one could be okay, but kind of hard to tell. But I guess we'll get rid of one of these Preordains. Pretty sure if you didn't have Mukotai, you'd be facing 3 burns in a row. Yeah, that's maybe true. I did not have it last league, and I did face 2 burn decks, so you might be right. They didn't have a 1-drop. I would like a land, so I can have a Spell Stutter up next turn. At least that is my kind of luck. Well, yeah, our kind of luck is all the High Tides. Yeah, I realized maybe I should have just played Cycle DeLorean turn 1 instead of playing the Preordain, because then I could have had to counterspell it for this turn. Like, I can still counter Aquarian or something, but they could sell a 4 mana for like a Lead the Stampede or something that I can't do much about. But we'll see how it goes. They just do a Birch Lore. I can counter that with a Spell Stutter, and I kind of want to counter anything. I think we'll take it. I mean, it's very clearly bait. The Quirion could come down next, but I'd like to get some value off this sprite, I think. They have a Lead the Stampede. 3 cards, not terrible for us. We top deck an island and attack for 1. I guess we're just holding up Counterspell. Yeah, I guess that's what we're doing. I kind of feel like I need to counter this. It makes so much mana. It makes 4 mana this turn. At least. Not 4. 3 mana so far. I think we will try to keep the other things off the table. I have another Priest and a Spider Silk Armor. Okay. Suffocating Fumes is going to do less now, but Arms of Hadar still gets these guys. I'm going to get a Swamp in case we do find Arms or Thorn. Let's Brainstorm. Snuff Out's good. We're going to cast that right now. So I probably put it back and then get it with an Augur. I think cutting off one of the Priests is pretty good. Oh, it also gives reach, so they can also block our guys. That's kind of annoying. Play a Fairy Seer, try to find more removal. Gurmag is not really good enough, I don't think. We're going to get rid of that. They do have 5 mana here. If they have a land, they can play the Generous Amp, but they just cycle it. That's a good sign. They could also just play Hydra for a couple. They can make it a 4/5, or they can make it like +3 on the Priest, or +2 with it on tap. Yeah, they just play a 4/5, 4/6 Hydra because of the Spider Silk. Do I want to just put down a Thorn? If they have another Nyxborn, it's kind of bad, although we can get the Monarch back probably pretty easily. But if they don't, then I can just block with the Thorn and the Augur, so I think it's worth it. Let's just do that and pass. I guess if we get a Snuff Out off the top here, that'd be pretty good. No. Spider Silk Armor brings me back to 2017 Pauper. You gotta love it. Yeah, I do love that you get a lot of really interesting niche cards in general for the format, but especially sideboard cards. Really cool to see. I do have another Hydra, or maybe a Generous Ant. It is an Ent. That's fine. So I can trade the Thorn for the Hydra, and then I'm gonna have to chump block the Ent, but if we could just find a removal spell, that would be fine too. I could Brainstorm and then cycle a Lorien. I could also just hardcast a Lorien, and I think I like that a little better. Oh, well, a lot of lands. Not quite what I wanted. Now it feels like Brainstorming and then cycling would have just been better, I guess. Not really better, because we could still maybe find a way to get rid of these lands with this, but another Generous Ant. Alright, well, we got a chump block here. I think we're just going to do it with the Fairy Seer. The higher toughness on the Augur could be relevant for these guys. They're out of cards, so if we can find a couple cast downs, and there's one, we might be in a good spot. This Ninja's pretty useless against everything they have going on. I'm going to put back 2 lands and just preordain them to the bottom, because Lorien I'll probably use hardcast next turn. Ooh, Fairy Seer. If we find another cast down, I need to play preordain instead of the Fairy Seer, so let's do that. Oh, yes, cast down and Snuff Out. That's exactly what we need. I think I could do it right now. I guess if they play like Vines of Vastwood or something, it might be a reason to, but if they find a Nyxborn Hydra, I'm going to want to use it in response. So I think we're just going to pass. I think it's unlikely we get burned by doing this. Oh, right. Also, we have the Snuff Out off the Monarch. So we have everything now. Pretty good for us, I think. They're just going to combat. Oh, this also lets us get everything here. Let's cast this down. Let's cast this down. And then I could Snuff Out one of these and double block the other, or I could just single block. I think I'd rather save the Snuff Out. So let's just single block both of these. I could also just double block and then attack back. That might have been better, but it's okay. They did find a Nyxborn Hydra. Okay, they just wanted to play around the counter spell. Okay, we do have a Snuff Out for that, though. Well, 1/2 of it. That is kind of annoying. It is tapped, though, so I can get this Ninja going and then replay the Augur. So we're going to do that. Draw a card. Counter spell's nice. I'm going to... yeah, Fairy Seer into Augur. Gurmag is a decent blocker now, but Augur does not pick it up. I think that's fine. In that case, I'll leave it, and I can snuff this out in combat. I guess I have to chump the Priest then. I could just let them draw a card. Actually, I guess I probably just don't waste 5 mana, and I play a Lorien here. Extract a Confession's good. Yeah, I think we're going to be okay. Technically, we're tapping out at a turn that could be pretty crucial. This is their turn to maybe go off with like a Lead the Stampede. Another Spider Silk Armor. That's a-okay by me. They can gain some life with the food token. They will attack with both. I think we will just let the Priest hit us. Oh, but then I can't take this back very easily with the Hydra here. No, because I can extract a Confession. Okay, yeah. We're going to snuff this out. We'll take 1, and then I can play a Gurmag, extract this, take the Monarch back. I think we're good. I think we should be able to do all of that 6 mana and still hold up Counterspell. Oh, actually, we don't have triple black, so I can't... Or no, I wasn't even going to play the Fumes. I don't know why I'm thinking that. All right, additional cost. Extract a Confession. Exile a Lorien plus a Preordain. They have to sack the Hydra. Swing with both, get the Monarch, draw a card, Gurmag, and play an Augur as another blocker. We hold up a Counterspell. We whiff, but that's totally fine. I guess I could have brainstormed first to make sure this hit. Would have been a little better, but I don't think it's going to matter. Play a forest, they crack a food, and they cast a Well-Wisher, which we might as well just counterspell. We get a cast down. We're going to attack with these two. If they want to block here, I can Suffocating Fumes the priest, so that I get to hold the cast down for a scarier creature, hit for 5, play an Augur, hold up counterspell, and another. And unfortunately for them, I don't think we're going to mill out before we're able to finish the job. So we get the match. Oh boy, what a league. So we went 3-2. Not bad. We stayed positive in our record and in our psyche. So we played against the Mirror, which was pretty fun. Frankly, I think we had one game where we were just very far behind and we lost that one, and then we had 2 games where we were pretty far ahead, but there's some interesting counterplay. I think we did pretty well there. And then we played against High Tide, and I think a pretty familiar player with the deck, and we lost against them. And so then that was Adepto Terra. And so round 3, we played against an interesting deck I haven't seen too much before called High Tide by Kalikais, or Satan Raken. And we were able to get the match against him. And then we were going to, we played against a Drow who was playing High Tide, and we lost to them, and then we finally got something different and we played against Elves. We were able to win that match, luckily. This was some sort of bizarro reality you've been transported to. Very true. Will I play more? No, that's unfortunately going to be it for me today. Very little known deck, very easy to interact. Yeah. High Tide is definitely an interesting one. Yeah, so that was my second league today, so that's going to have to be it for me. I plan to stream again. I don't know exactly when, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Any of those days probably at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Probably do another league or two like this. If you want to know when I'm streaming, since I don't have a set schedule, just make sure to follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky, right here, or on YouTube. Just make sure to check the community tab, and I'm posting whenever I'm live there too. So any of those places you should be able to keep up to date with when I'm live. And yeah, I'm sure I'll have another interesting fun deck to play then. Thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you next time.